Hello and welcome to Co-ople Mode, a couple's opinion on gaming. I'm Matt.
I'm Rose.
And we're back from the jungles of Donkey Kong Country with angry armadillos and
big swamps with fish that are mean in them.
and for some reason spinning octopuses that kill you.
That you can't kill.
I know. They're just obstacles, and I always like have this moment where I'm like, can I kill that? It's really a soft, squishy creature, but somehow it's like they treat the tentacles like spikes or something.
I thought with the swordfish especially I'd be able to get them out of the way.
Nope.
Does not happen.
Nope, just swim around them. Stay safe out there, folks. So, how about you have any ideas, any guesses?
No, I don't. Because especially right now with our schedules, we aren't around each other that much.
Oh, I know. It's been rough.
This is the perfect time for you to be so sneaky about it. I definitely do not have a guess.
I have been sneaky. And all I have to say is it is time.
For what? You say that a lot. Time for what?
It is time.
There's so many bad things it could be. Which one is it?
You are going to be playing Earth Defense Force 5.
God damn it.
And
dang
folks,
it, you were just playing that yesterday, weren't you? I'm an idiot. I watched you play
playing it recently. I think you watched Joe playing E.D.F 2025.
I don't know.
And so that was why that was why our son was playing it. It was playing Earth Defense Force 2025, not 5, but still close enough.
I gotta get better at connecting the dots. I should have known.
You should have known.
The signs were all there.
Oh, but at least luckily, our son does like this game and has played it with me, so he can give you some help out if I'm not here.
He gave me good pointers on Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, so if I do have trouble, I know
he does.
I got 2 people I can ask.
He does become kind of a backseat gamer sometimes.
Yes.
But I will say, I was playing...
But in a cute way.
Yeah, I was playing Tears of the Kingdom, and he pointed out something I missed when I was walking by.
He can be helpful.
He'll be like, hey, you missed that. And I was like, oh, thank you. I didn't even see it. And it has helped me out on several occasions.
All right. So let's learn about this game.
It's time to learn about one of my guilty pleasures of a game. This is one of those. I would say the Dynasty Warrior games are kind of a guilty pleasure, and this is another one. Yeah, I don't mean it in a bad way. They're fun games. They're good games in their own right. But like, there's something like, it's not like God of War. It's not the recent ones. It's not like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Like, as a gamer, as I will call myself, like, you feel like if you're not playing the top of the top sometimes, why are you playing these B grade games?
Oh, because sometimes they're just so fun.
Exactly. I think of it like this. You got B movies, right? And sometimes that campiness is so fun, and that is what's so good about this game.
I made you play Pilot Wing 64. I mean,
that's pretty goofy, right?
It's pretty niche. It's pretty, yeah.
So basically, this is a third-person shooter over the shoulder, and you're killing aliens and giant bugs. That's what's invading the planet Earth, and it's time to defend it. This one is the 5th game in the mainline franchise. E.D.F 6 is out in Japan. There isn't a release date worldwide yet.
Interesting.
It came out August 2022 in Japan.
Really?
Yep. So it came out last year. If we go by the timeline, we should probably see an announcement within the next year. It usually takes them a little bit before they get it over here. So the original PlayStation 4 release happened in December of 2017 in Japan. Worldwide was released December 2018. And then we finally got a PC version in July of 2019. So, but I think that they will make a PC version happen a little quicker because the PC version did real well. They just recently finally surpassed 1 million units sold for, which I know sounds like small change compared to some of the...
Not really, just for one country? That's
but like, this isn't like a huge game developer that makes 1 billion games. Like, this is like their main game that they make. And the developer is Sandlot, and it's published by D3 Publisher. You'll see them in a lot of different things. This is what they do. But the funny thing about Sandlot is I was looking into their game history that they've made.
Sure.
So mostly the E.D.F games, and they also made another really good favorite game of mine called RAD, Robot Alchemic Drive. That's what it's called. And it was for the PlayStation 2. The controls were so unique for any big robot game I've ever played. And I'm just going to have a little rad gush here because it is one of my favorites. You played as a person, like in Japan, and aliens invade, right? Mm-hmm. Again, but they're these like giant robots called Volgara, and luckily your family has this secret base underneath the school, and they've been making giant robots to fight these things. Here's the thing, you don't get into a cockpit on the robot. It's a robot. You control it from the outside.
Okay.
So you have to position yourself like on rooftops or even on the robot's shoulder and control it. And how it would work is on a PlayStation controller, you have L1, R1, L2, R2. Mm-hmm. L1 steps the right foot forward, or R1, and then L1 steps the left foot forward.
Okay.
R2 and L2 step that foot back. So you have to like position your robot very specifically. Both control sticks control the arms. So you swing that control stick down and up, and you do an uppercut or just jab it forward for a jab.
That sounds pretty fun, actually.
It's such a unique way to control a robot, and it actually gives you so much control over them that it makes it really fun and satisfying. The hardest part is setting up your camera so you can make sure you get those hits in.
Yeah.
Right. I had so much fun. There was transforming one turns into like this jet plane you can fly around. One turns into a tank. Like this is all my like
favorite
good
things.
stuff. It's like, oh, and there's even a multiplayer mode where you can battle against each other and you can play as any of the enemies you defeated as well.
Okay.
It's like this game is just cool. And I mean, the one main robot, his fist goes in, a big drill comes out, and then one of your special moves is you shoot your drill fist out into the enemy.
Just rip them apart.
Like, who doesn't want to play that? Okay, yeah. I'm done with my mini Rad Gush podcast, and I'll move along. They also made an interesting little Wii game that only went out in Japan, but it was actually based on like Norse origins.
Okay.
And it was actually Nintendo's first, essentially mature rating game over in Japan on the Wii, which I thought was interesting. They made the first mature rating. It's called D over there, but it's 17 up. That's the same as mature over here. They use a different rating system than we do.
Okay.
So the Metacritic reviews for E.D.F 5 is the PS4 version got a 72 and the PC version got a 76. There are a few side games in this franchise that were made by like Western developers, but they always take a very serious take on this alien invasion. But the mainline series is fun. It has this, like I said before, a B-movie feel. It's a little campy and corny, but that's what makes it more enjoyable. Yeah, the world's ending, aliens are invading, you got all these different creatures that are trying to kill you, but like that corniness makes it feel fun. And you're just like annihilating hundreds of ants, hundreds of giant frog aliens, like spaceships, robots, like anything you can think of that you would fight, I feel like you fight in this game. And it's just the guns you get. You get some wild and wacky stuff, folks. So the Earth Defense Force as a series, like it has always gotten kind of mixed reviews, but it has kind of a cult following now. Like, it's one of those games where the people who love it really love it.
The ride or dies.
Yeah, you get some ride or dies. And I feel like I'm in that vein. I remember playing the first one that came stateside on the 360. I believe it was called 2017, essentially Earth the Force Free. And I was like, what is this game? Like, what is happening? And then the more I played it, I couldn't stop. And that one was very simple. You only played as one little ranger guy running around, and you got wild and crazy weapons, but like, you're just one dude fighting against like an army, just all by yourself almost. It is such an interesting feeling. A Game Informer a journalist had said that the developers at Sandlot clearly want to just tell a story about humanity's struggle against giant invading ants and robots. And the passion for that story shines through despite its technical shortcomings. And later on, when Earth Defense Force 5 came out, he had said, they always have a single-minded commitment to one simple truth. It's fun to use weird weapons to blast lots of aliens. And I don't think I can put it better than that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go with what's good, right? And once you find it, stick with it.
It's the same reason why I feel like the Dynasty Warriors franchise is a guilty pleasure, because like you're one dude mowing through just an army.
Fields of people.
Yeah, like literally, like I love like the Hyrule Warriors one is like my literal favorite, and it's like it's literally like Link in a grassy field, like you just cut down the blades of grass.
Yep.
So the original Earth Defense Force called Monster Attack was released in Japan. They did D3 publisher did this thing called the Simple series. They were basically lower budget games that would come out and would be for a lot cheaper. So it was like only 2,000 yen to buy this original game, but because it had success, they kept making more and more. So the names as we recognize them stateside for the main series is Monster Attack, Global Defense Force, then Earth Defense Force 2017, which was the third one, Earth Defense Force 2025, which is the fourth one, and then they're like, okay, we're going to stop that, Earth Defense Force 5 and Earth Defense Force 6. Like,
let's simplify it.
But over in Japan, they're all called the same thing. It's just...
Okay.
It's all... Okay, I'm going to try to pronounce this, folks, but it is going to come out horrible. It is going to be wrong, and I apologize to anybody who understands Japanese. It is Chikyu Boengun, and it's just, that's what each one of these games is called over there, these mainline ones. And then I want you to listen to the spin-offs that came off. There was a tactics version that came out for, I believe, PSP or PSP Vita. And then the Western one made by Western companies is Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon, Earth Defense Force Iron Rain, and Earth Defense Force World Brothers, which is like... This is the most recent one is World Brothers, and it's like this voxel game. It's like very simple looking, kind of almost Minecraft-esque world, but instead of getting wild weapons, you just collect more rangers, and each ranger has their own special ability and movements. It's so corny looking, but people who love it. Earth Defense Force 5, I think stateside, is the best one you can play, because they've really like streamlined the game in a lot of different ways. They really mixed up how these different classes you can play with feel. Like each class really feels and plays like its own thing. You got your basic ranger. He's like your on the ground running gun guy. He's going to get your assault rifles, your shotguns, your sniper rifles, right? All your basic weapons, you're going to know what it does, right? You're going to figure it out pretty quickly. And in this one, they finally added a button where he can sprint. He can just start booking it. And you get like special armor abilities now where like, hey, my sprint will break small little fences so they don't stop me when I run into them.
I'm just running through little fences.
Yeah, now. Like little like they have like guardrails and like, you know.
Yeah.
You can also get ones that when you run most of this game, every time you kill an enemy, they drop a box. There's health boxes, there's armor boxes, and weapon boxes.
Okay.
So the main loop of this game is kill enemies, collect weapon boxes to get new weapons, and collect armor to increase the health of your enemies so you can survive better in later levels. So you can get an ability for your ranger that increases this field around you, so you just collect items in a huge range. So it makes it way easier, right? And they even did a nice little thing where the ranger can now summon basic vehicles like a motorbike, a tank, a car, civilian cars and stuff. So as you collect weapons, you might collect a car you can summon in game to help you get around. Now, vehicles, depends on the vehicle you get in. Vehicles don't feel super great, but generally they are tougher. Like That's
They're
my
hard
only
to
qualm.
steer.
Yeah, it isn't like GTA. You get in like any car, you're gonna be able to drive it pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like it's you got to figure out how each different vehicle handles because they all handle differently. Next on the list is one of my favorite classes, the wing divers, and they're all females. And they have essentially like a jetpack strapped to their back. You can kind of fly and dash around the battlefield.
That sounds pretty
which
cool.
is super cool. But the interesting thing about them is, as opposed to the ranger who has to just reload his weapons, the wing diver has an energy system that she uses to fly and reload her weapons. So it's like you have to like balance.
Choose one or the other.
Well, you have to balance being mobile and recharging, and like. The interesting thing, like I played them so much, and this is why I remember so much about them. There's different kinds of reloads. So you have your first kind, which is, hey, I take so much energy to reload the weapon, then I can fire it. There's, I have to hold the button to charge up the weapon, and depending on how much I charge it, determines how much energy it takes and how much damage it does. And then there's one that just uses the energy straight out your backpack. And like, as you get better weapons, they usually take more charge, but they do more damage. But you also get new cores that hold more charge or recharge faster. I have one that lets me, when I do my dashes, when I'm flying in midair, they go super fast and a lot farther. Mm-hmm. And I really like that because then it's like, it doesn't take a lot of energy for me to move out of like enemy range, get behind some cover and take a second to recharge. And like a lot of their weapons, it's like laser based or lightning, you know, like, oh, like it's a lot of this.
That sounds
like,
really cool.
Very spacey. One of my favorite weapons was, I don't think it's in E.D.F 5, but in E.D.F 4 or 2025, there was one called the laser chainsaw.
Yeah.
And essentially it was this big chainsaw with two blades parallel to each other.
Yeah.
And it would just shoot red lasers out around in front of you. So in front of me, it's like, it looks so cool. I played with somebody and they're like, what the hell is that weapon? So I looked on their screen and it's just this huge, like, Ferris wheel of red lasers just cutting through everything. It's insane. But yeah, one of my favorite character classes. Like, it's such an interesting character because their main weapon's like a lance, and you charge up, it does a lot of damage, but you have to get up in their face, and you're a squishy character. So it's like it's like you're like a rogue of E.D.F. You got to sneak in there, zap them, and then get the hell out of there. Another one of my favorites is the Air Raider, which is the next class. Now, this one is probably one of the trickier classes to play, because they don't have as much for direct attack like the Ranger does. Like the Ranger has all these direct attacks, rockets and missiles and all that, right? The Air Raider is more about, I set up turrets. I set up a little heal thing. I summon a vehicle, like really cool vehicles. They get big ass mechs. Mm-hmm. So like, of course I'm going to pick them because I want to drive a mech that has like giant revolver cannons and can shoot missiles across the map. Or I can set up a string of turrets in front of me and make just like a death area like around me, which is really cool. Their main attack weapon is called a limpet gun. Think of it like a gun that shoots sticky explosives, and then you have to press a trigger button to blow them up. And like that can be dangerous for you if you're not paying attention to where you're firing them, because you can blow yourself up.
Of course.
Yeah, don't shoot at an ant right in your face with a big explosive rocket. You will die. But they're just very interesting. They're very much a support class. And like, I could summon a mech, and if you were the Ranger, you could hop in that bad boy and go to town, and then I could build up enough points to summon another one, and then we could be mech bros, you know. It's really cool, and they have such a variety of vehicles. There's these crawlers. You get these cave maps, and you can crawl up around like a spider, and like up around the ceiling, up, you know, like.
Oh man, there's spiders.
Oh yeah, there's spiders.
There's not cockroaches, right?
No,
That's okay.
Cockroaches.
I can handle that.
I don't think so. There's ants,
Frogs.
different color ants. There's two different kinds of spiders, like tarantula kinds and like kind of banana spider looking ones.
Oh no.
And then there's bees, like wasps.
That's fine.
And then after that, you get into like aliens. There's like huge bipedal frogs, aliens in armor, like more typical, like your gray alien looking kind, spaceships, robot walkers, motherships, which are take up the whole sky. Like it's like it's almost insanity, the scaling over the course of the missions that you deal with. But they really start you out kind of nice. The first level's like this tutorial mission, which I'm an E.D.F pro, so it took a little too long for me. But after that, every mission after that just feels like this is the right spot for the level I'm at. And like it feels good that way. I don't ever feel like they overly overwhelm you.
It feels good, man.
Yeah. And then the last class is called the Fencer. And think of a dude in power armor. These guys get to equip 2 different weapons on 2 weapon slots. So like you can have a big axe for close range and a Gatling gun in your other arm. But they're like little mini mechs. So like if you are equipping all this heavy stuff, it kind of slows you down. But there's ways you can ease that weight as you get armor upgrades for your armor. The cool thing about them is depending on what weapon you get, you either get a super jump or a quick dash. And if you combine those, even though you're slower walking normally, you can really move around the map quite quickly. But they are also a trickier class to handle.
Okay.
So I would really suggest, like, if you want to get the basic understanding, Ranger and then Wing Diver are kind of, they're really good entry points for figuring out how you want to play.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, like learn. I really, if anybody who is interested in E.D.F after you look at it and it looks like stupid fun, which it is, try those first 2 to kind of like literally get your feet on the ground and figure out how this game works before you start making it harder on yourself with the trickier mechanic. Yeah, once you figure them out, they're really good. Like, the air raider can call in airstrikes and like it's super useful and super cool and like there's all these interesting things you can do, but they operate in such a different way. It's just learning how each class feels, and each class feels so different and unique. It's almost a different game. And yeah, the enemies are varied. You go to all sorts of different places. You have some countryside, like, oh, it's a nice idyllic countryside, and now there's ants and like
big one.
I've had so much fun with this series over the years. There's still people that jump on and play E.D.F 2025 because that's the newest version you can play on Xbox still. I'm excited for 6 to come because all I've heard about is people who have been able to play it are like, yeah, I mean, it is better. It's like they've built on the formula and they have an understanding of what people like. And every time they make tweaks that like there's new things, new ways to enjoy the game, interesting things to happen. And it's just fun to get new weapons. You don't know what you're going to get. Like,
yeah, it is. It's always, I understand it. The same thing, but different. But if you can make it different enough or have some new surprises in there.
Yep.
I understand why people play the same game series, even though it's basically the same idea every time. When you love it, you love it.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I do appreciate too, like I think you have to beat the game on normal or easy before you unlock the harder difficulties.
Okay.
And so like how the game works is depending on the difficulty and the level you're playing determines what range of weapons can randomly drop for you, right?
Sure.
So the further in the levels and the harder level you go, that's when you get the like the big bad boys, right?
Sure.
Like I got some insane stuff. And I think there's one that's called like the Hand of God, and it's just like goodbye map. Sorry, buddies. Like, and so it's kind of cool. It eases you in. And a nice thing they do in this one is if you pick up copies of weapons you already have, it like will upgrade a stat on the weapon. So it might upgrade how much damage it does per bullet. It might upgrade the rate of fire or the reload speed. Like you never run out of ammo. I want you to know that, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
I think there's a couple specialty weapons that do. You get like one shot, but it's stupid powerful, right? but it's always about how fast can I shoot, how much damage am I doing per second, yada yada yada. Does it do pierce? You know, there's all these like fun little mechanics that they kind of ease in over time. I'm excited for you to try it. I know like it might be tough at first. Don't lie. Play it with a controller. I know you're playing on PC. Put a controller in. Please, for the love of God, put a controller in.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Play this game with a controller. So much easier. Our son can help you. He's got some experience, and I'm sure he'd love to try to play with you at some point between computers.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I think this game is definitely... I always say this. It's always more fun with friends. And like playing multiplayer online with randoms is good. And some people really, really love that. But if you got a buddy you can play with and just enjoy the pure insanity that's happening sometimes, it's so much fun. And I can't get enough. And please, Sandlot, please announce a Western release of E.D.F 6. I want it. I need a new one. I beat this one. I want another one. But I think that's all I need to say. I think you need to experience it. I want to hear what your rating is right now, because you were groaning about it at first.
I've seen you play this before, and it looked like terrible to me. But when you talk about it, it sounds awesome.
Like, I get it. It doesn't look like
And I'm already getting the feeling that this is going to be one of those times when I go into it like, and I feel like once I start playing it, I'm going to really, really probably like it.
Yeah.
Because the description of it that you give me, unless I get in there and like controls feel bad to me and it's wonky.
Yeah.
And I have a really hard time and I struggle, I think it's probably going to go pretty good. So I'm going to give like a 6 right now.
Okay, that's fair. I will say, controls can feel like I said, I told you to pick certain characters because they're the easiest to control. There is like a little bit of this wonk, a little bit of this jank, but that adds to the B-movie charm of it. It's...
The control sucks, but it adds to the charm.
It's not so much it sucks. I think
know.
there's just industry standards that, especially in Western games, that it doesn't always adhere to because this is its own game. And I guess that's all I'll say. But I'm excited for you to try it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Let's get out of here.
Let's go save the world.
Hey, what's better to saving the world than killing all the bugs that are invading your home?
Yeah.
Get rid of the spiders. Kill it with fire. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the other side. Bye-bye. Hello, and welcome back from the alien bug-infested planets of the Earth Defense Force universe.
It's pretty bug-infested.
It is... It's pretty invested at this point.
There's so many and they're everywhere.
So let's talk to our resident exterminator and see the vibes you were getting.
Got ants and spiders? I'm the girl for you. Oh my goodness.
I got a gun just for the job.
Yeah, I got
Normally if you tell them you have a bug infestation and they tell you they have a gun for a job, don't hire that person. But in this universe, do.
Yeah. This game is so corny and so cheesy.
I said B-movie vibes.
I was still surprised though. When I started it up, it was just torturous. I felt like I was watching like a late 80s, early 90s action movie, like that has Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and things are just blowing up and going wild, and the dialogue is just trash.
Yeah.
It's just the dialogue in this game is absolute trash and constant.
There is a lot of banter, especially in the beginning. Anytime you have like some new enemies, like it is pretty consistent.
No, it's not even when you have new enemies. It's just all the time. It's all the time. I think you need a refresher. It's terrible.
It's where you get all that good story from.
Oh, yeah, good story. So the story is, guess what? Alien bugs are here.
Yep.
Let's go get them. So you're just kind of like this basic civilian walking around, and they grab you like, oh, things are going bad. Let's give you a gun.
Yep.
You're on the job.
You're on the job now. Yep.
I started off with the Ranger class. It does suggest that. You suggested that. And I'm like, yeah, I'll run around and spray and pray. I'm good with that, you know. But the tutorial, like, I will say, the tutorial is the kind that I like. Like, you go in, you do it. It doesn't take too long. It walks you through things. And the controls are really intuitive and basic. If you've played Call of Duty, you're going to pick up on this super fast.
Yeah, I would say, like, generally, the default controls, the buttons tend to be in kind of different locations sometimes than you're used to. But they are very nice in this one. They let you adjust controls to what's most comfortable for you.
I don't know. I felt like it was all good mostly.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think there's always like one or two I like to switch around.
The only thing that I did change was the sprint button, because it had me click the left stick, and for some reason that doesn't work very well, and you actually like move slower and don't get very far. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. And like, I'm holding it down, but my guy is stopping. The sprint is bullshit. You're like, switch it to a different button. Then it worked out better. But so you follow this commander down these never ending hallways. The whole like first mission is just hallway after hallway after hallway with not much happening, not much going on. Of course, he opens a door and like a big giant ant eats him or whatever. And some stupid soldier next to you wonders, like, are these left over from the dinosaurs? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like these big ants. Like, he saw an ant, everybody. I just need to really bring this home.
Yeah.
He saw an ant.
A big ant.
And he's like, oh my God, is it a dinosaur?
Well,
that's what I mean by this dialogue being absolute trash. Like, no one would say that. And if they did, you should not be in the military.
Yeah.
You're not good enough to be a soldier.
Well, I don't think that one was a soldier.
It was a soldier.
But I think the statement is supposed to be like, is this from the time of the dinosaurs? Because like, oh, everything was huge back in the days, or but
not everything was huge.
No,
back
it wasn't.
In the day.
Well, okay, I know that, but I'm saying that's a saying.
But
people will
this dummy
talk
doesn't
about.
know that.
Yeah, it's an NPC in a video game that probably died on the next level.
It was the best worst line I've ever heard. So somebody notices that you're not even supposed to be in this area, and they're like, you know what? You're untrained. You're a noob. Let's give you a gun and have you shoot at some targets quick. You're ready to go.
Speed run the training.
It's just horrible.
Yeah, like I said, it's a corny B movie. As B movie gets.
So mission 1 was painful, and I powered through, and then I stopped.
Yep.
I was like, that's enough for today. Mission 2, you actually get to go outside, and guess what? There's a bunch more ants.
Oh, a lot more.
Mission 3, you're still outside. Guess what? There's more ants.
Yep.
Mission 4, guess what?
More ants.
There's a lot of ants.
Yep.
And like, eventually I got to spiders. Okay, like that's it. It's spiders and ants so far.
Oh, and flying drones, little flying saucer people.
Oh yeah, there was some UFOs I had to shoot down. That might have been the lamest one of all. Actually, at least the ants, like, I don't know, man. This, and I feel bad, like, just disliking this so much because I know you love it, and I can almost see why. And we did talk about it a little bit.
Yes.
Like, it is a lot of every mission that I played was there's one type of enemy, go mow everything down. Oh, it's clear.
Yeah.
And then you do the same thing again and the same thing again. And it's so, I hate to use this word. It's a little bit mindless. It's a little bit,
yeah.
Autopilot, going in, spraying everything down, and then you're done. And then you do it again, and you do it again. And we were kind of talking about how, like, that's what you get out of it. Like, sometimes when you just want a relaxed game that's, like, no pressure, that's just kind of, what was the word we used?
Well, it's like chill. You can kind of shut your brain off and just wipe out 1,000 ants. Like,
you're just flatlining in the background of your mind. You know?
And I think the other part, like, the different weapons that you eventually get can make it more interesting, testing those things out. And it's very hard, like, in the early game. They don't really give you a lot. They don't give you a lot to work with. And I've beaten this game a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit of that beginning grind like has faded from my memory because I just know what it's like in the middle when I'm grinding for the really good stuff.
Well, so I mean, and that's a good point to bring up because like I'm just starting out, I'm going around and like once you kill these enemies, sometimes they drop health, sometimes they drop armor that'll level up your HP after the mission if you complete it, and sometimes they'll drop weapon boxes and then you get like a random selection of weapons added. Absolute snooze fest. Absolute snooze fest. The weapons that I picked up.
Yeah.
I hated it. Like even that wasn't fun for me. And every weapon I got, I was like, I don't like this. This is worse. And I got quite a variety. I mean, you can get grenade launchers, you can get just basic grenades to throw, you can get shotguns, you can get sniper rifles. I'm not a sniper person. And you're like, oh no, that's super effective in this game. And I'm like, you know what's effective? Having a machine gun and walking towards the horde and just mowing them down. That's effective enough.
Yeah.
Like most of the time I never got injured or there was no consequences for any of my actions. I was playing so recklessly and wild.
Yeah.
And because I could with the basic starting gun for like 10, 11 missions. It's not, again, I need to think a little. I just, so I was basically like letting it be known. I hate this. This is so boring. And at least you were nice enough to like load up your game and show me what's what. Because I think that makes a difference overall in how I feel about this game. If I was just going off of my experience, I'd be like, why waste the time to make this? With where you're at, like you actually have a huge variety of weapons and actually some good random ones that got dropped.
Yeah.
You actually have some cool things that do a lot of damage, but mostly the type of enemies that you're fighting, you are at a point where like you've got these big giant aliens that are super armored that have like huge lasers that just mow down tons of people.
Yep.
There's a little bit more work involved.
Yes.
But just being able to like have a weapon that actually can one shot or get through these people faster. Like it felt like you worked towards something by the time that you get to your level.
Yeah.
What level are you? Are you 90 or something?
Oh,
80?
well, I've
or is it done?
okay. So how do I put it?
What mission are you on, I should say?
Oh,
Is it
I've
completed?
beaten the base game. So I was playing on hard for you to kind of show you that, like, yeah, even though I have as much health as I do, like these, if you're not careful, you can get overwhelmed really easily and die.
Yeah,
right?
there was actually a consequence to some of your actions.
Exactly. How they split this game is you can only play on easy or normal until you beat it on easy or normal, and then you unlock the harder difficulties after that.
Okay.
And this is where the game, essentially the loot tables are set up. You get a range because they divide the weapons in each category by level, right?
Sure.
Like the higher the level, generally, the better the weapon. Not always, but most often. And playing on normal, you're going to get a range of like drops from 0 to maybe
like
15,
5.
10. Yeah, not much in those early levels. But as you go up in levels, so does the range of stuff you'll pick up. And it's a sliding scale. So if you got to level 50 on normal, your range would be weapons from like 15 to 25 instead. You know, like it moves as you go higher. And that also, if you go to higher difficulties, the range gets even bigger. So a lot of times in these games, what you do is you find specifically what people would like to call the good farming levels.
Yeah.
And you find a level that you can either play on a really hard difficulty and push through, and then you get really good weapon drops you can use to help yourself out, or like you find a level where you can just annihilate lots of low level enemies and like get your armor up to max. Like it all depends.
Trillion ants.
So
right?
yeah, so in the last E.D.F 2025, there would be ground burrows and like enemies would pop out of them. Well, the spiders would come flying out of them so high.
Goodness.
So what you would do is you'd get that big beefy guy I showed you that had the like Gatling gun and the axe.
Yeah.
So you get 2 different Gatling guns. You would point yourself straight up underneath one of these holes, start one, and then right before that reloads, you start the other one. So you have a constant stream of ammunition, and you just leave people would just leave their game overnight, and you just
Oh my gosh.
like constantly killing all the spiders. Like you leave one hole and you just kill all the spiders, everything drops right on top of you, and then you come back after like overnight or a few hours, and then you collect all that armor, and like all your health just skyrockets. Now in this game there's pill bugs. So they'll bounce around as balls. Like it's cute, but like all of a sudden you get 20 pill bug like wrecking balls rolling you over, and you just get knocked around like a freaking ragdoll. So there's this level where you run down this stream, and there's these rocks that you can hide between where the pill bugs can't get you. So you hide in this little crevice, and after the pill bugs kill all the computer allies, that they come for your ass.
Yeah.
And you just shoot them through the crevice. And
oh my goodness.
basically it's just a war of attrition. So like the first thing you do, you play on Inferno, it's like, I gotta book my ass over to this little crevice before they get to me. And then you hide in the hole, and then you can farm for. And I did that with all the different classes, which some is harder than others.
Sure.
It depends on what weapon, because you don't want to use explosives.
Yeah.
Because you'll just blow yourself up.
Yes.
Like you watched me.
You can blow yourself up in this
Yes. And like luckily you can turn off like or
friendly
fire. Yeah, which is really good if you're playing with somebody. But I showed you I had this big laser beam from space, right?
Yeah.
And then I ran.
Was wild.
And I pointed as I was strafing. My laser went from pointing at a building in a distance to a light pole right next to me, and then the laser came over and just burned me up in a second.
Like I said, you actually had some consequences.
Yes, very much so.
So, the overall fact that you were able to level up, get a couple of good lucky drops, and have these powerful, useful weapons that make your life easier by the end, but you still had to be somewhat careful.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It makes you feel powerful, right? We were talking about that.
Oh, yeah, it does make you feel powerful. And, like, even in the beginning of the game, like, you feel much more powerful than everything around you.
But it's too easy. You know what I mean? Like, you need a little bit of a challenge.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
To really feel that good feeling of, like, I am dominating this right now. I am wrecking this shit. Like, it does need to be a little bit hard. And, like, once I saw you play, I got that vibe. I got that feeling. I can understand why you feel like that. And that makes this game fun.
Yeah.
To me, like, the first thing that I think of in my head that feels like that for me is when we're on a super good run of Call of Duty Zombies, and like we've pack-a-punched our weapon the second time. Like we're on wave 30, 40, 50, I don't even know.
Yeah,
but like,
right?
When we are just going to town, that's that all-powerful, like, come at me, bro feeling. And the other game that I love getting that all-powerful feeling from, when I'm craving that, Heroes of Might and Magic 5, just totally building up my army, going around, wrecking everyone around me, and just destroying and taking everything from myself. I love that feeling. So I was finally able to relate, like, why you like playing this in that way. That kind of clicked for me when I watched you play.
Yeah, to me, it's almost like you're kind of like a glass cannon in this game, right? I am very powerful. I can see the results of the damage and what I'm doing, decimating these forces.
Like you said, you literally have a laser beam from the sky.
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
can
Which is, you watch me
wild.
just wreck this giant flying ant, like even bigger than the regular giant ants, like building size, right? And I bring that down, and it makes me feel like, oh yeah, I can do this. I'm so strong. It's so cool. But I also have to be like, these ants and all these enemies are also strong and can kill me. So there's still a bit of that tension of, hey, even though I'm just like...
You got to watch your back a little.
Yeah, exactly.
I think in the early stages, you don't feel like you have to watch your back enough.
No, not really.
And I think to get that good, satisfying feeling of accomplishment, you need to have some danger there. And I think that's the big difference. Like, where I'm at in this game, there is not enough danger. I'm way too cocky, and I just go right for everything.
You stand... Like... So one of the most basic things you run into is there's these big, essentially like teleporter stakes. It's like a little tower with a glowy red bit at the top that's summoning enemies in. Ants are dropping, spiders are dropping, right?
I just stand in the middle of it all and shoot it.
Yeah, all the ants are just like blasting you with orange acid, and you're like, it's fine. They're missing.
It doesn't hurt me. Did my health go down? Very little.
Yeah. Yep. There was a couple times when you finally, I think the drones were the ones.
There was like two times when I was like, oh, I actually got to like pick up some health.
But
I actually need it.
And it's also hard. Like I showed you some of the enemies you see later on in the game. But there is a huge variety of enemies in this game. Like you saw the big ships dropping enemies.
Yeah.
Eventually you got to take those down. Eventually the big mothership will be attacking, and you got to shoot off like all the turrets and like try to destroy that. Eventually you get almost War of the World walkers that'll be walking around shooting like bombardments from way up high, and you got to like destroy the legs piece by piece to bring it down. There's big like moving shield carriers that just protect everything within the shield, and so you have to run in close range and kill those. And wasp and huge wasp nests you have to knock down. Like this game is mostly about you running in, wrecking stuff, like kill everything, right? That's generally the operous. I lost the word. Basically, that's always your mission, but they like to mix up how you have to go about doing it and how the threat affects you having to do these things as you go on.
Which is good, because otherwise it would be even more boring.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, thank God they do have some variety. And I mean, like I said, it was a lot of ants and a lot of spiders at first. But at least the spiders, like, they bounce around all annoying. They're so annoying.
They definitely feel different than the ants, right?
They're constantly shooting out web, and I don't know why. Like, that's so wild and unrealistic. But if you do get, like, too much web around you, it can hurt you or slow you down. So I mean, it increased a little bit the danger, right? But not much. It was still way
slow burn,
too easy. And I played this on normal. I mean, I don't know. I just thought games are funny. Games are so funny. How you play normal on one and like normal on Dark Souls and normal on this. It's just not even in the same universe with each other. No, not even
close. You worry about one enemy, regular enemy in Dark Souls, and this one is not like that.
Yeah, it's just kind of wild. Who knows what normal's really going to feel like until you do it. That's for sure. So, I mean, overall, like I said, I played the Ranger the most. I thought that was pretty boring. I hated his weapons that I was getting.
Yep.
And it's just lame. You're just running around shooting things. Like, maybe eventually it gets cool. You did have me try the wing diver quick, and that was a little bit more fun. I mean, you can fly around, you have a jetpack, and you have this, like, plasma gun or plasma weapon that you just get up close range and zap people with, which I have mixed feelings about that. If you're going to be flying around, why would you have a close range weapon? I mean, there's times when that's good, but I also think for a secondary weapon, it would make a lot of sense to have a long distance one. I did get lucky and unlock a grit plasma cannon, I think, from my secondary weapon. Yep. So it charges up 9 plasma blasts and they just shoot out away from you. So if there is like a congregation of ants or spiders in one spot, it is kind of nice to just boom, 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 parts flying everywhere, you know? And I'm like,
see
done.
one ragdoll into the distance.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
They bounce around. So funny. So, I mean, I enjoyed that a little bit more. It was fun. And having the ability to fly and like get in, get out, move around a little quicker, fly over obstacles and buildings and hills made it a little bit more exciting than the Ranger for sure.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think I played the Wing Diver the most, probably, just because, like, that mobility is so nice early on. You get to, like, you don't have to, like, hoof it across the battlefield. And like you said, at first, the Ranger's run isn't really that great. And then I showed you, like, I had an upgrade to mine that made myself run around like a little race car running
200% faster?
Yeah. It just looks like Sonic the Hedgehog running around.
Yeah. Looks like you put on the video on, like, 2 times speed.
And you can get, like, helicopters and bikes as the Ranger, but it's like, if I can run this fast, it's just so much better.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. it's just, for me, it's fun to see just the wacky stuff they come up with, the interesting things. And even though you get statistics on all the guns, that doesn't always fully explain how effective it will be for you as well. And I showed you that with like that big missile launcher. It shot a bunch of missiles at once, which was kind of cool, but it spread it out in like this wave pattern, so it wasn't really as focused as I would have liked.
It's not an accurate kind of thing.
Yeah, it would like good for a bunch of ants. And by the time you get this weapon, like you're not fighting
a horde of ants
as
anymore.
often. Yeah. And then the other thing I should have showed you, but I couldn't remember what missions it was on. You do fight some kaiju like creatures.
Oh.
Like big, almost armadillo like guys. And then there's a Godzilla like enemy.
Yeah.
And so they fly in a huge robot to fight this Godzilla. And then you get to pilot that for a couple missions, which is like, all of a sudden you go from I'm on the ground fighting waves and waves of fodder. It's just big duke and fight between you and this big Godzilla monster, and that's really fun. Like, it's just a fun way to mix it up, right?
Yeah, that's good that they did that, and I'll give them that. Like, that sounds like a good idea and very necessary to this game.
Yeah, right.
Being playable. I will say, like, the environment was fine. It's not great. It wasn't terrible. It looked like a pretty standard older PC game to me.
Yeah, it wasn't. That's one of the things that usually
there's
gets
not a lot
on.
of interacting with the environment, really. So
other than blowing up buildings.
Yeah, you can blow up buildings. You can knock over like fencing and stuff, and it's pretty basic, pretty simple. The main focus is really on just destroying aliens as fast and as hard as you can. Like, just wreck everything. I think this game has some potential in there. And I think, like, they've made so many of these, right? How many have they made now?
This is the 5th mainline one.
That's wild.
There's a few, like, Western-made ones that... The most recent one, I think Iron Rain, did pretty decent. And there was another one, Insect Armageddon, which was much more about you level up your class, and that's what determines what guns you get instead of, like, the random drops, which in some ways is kind of nice to build up to
I will say I like the random drop.
I think it's kind of
even if
fun.
you're just getting shit all the time, you always have the potential to get some random awesome weapon. And I do like that.
And the nice thing is getting copies of weapons you already have does upgrade the statistics of guns up to a certain point. There's like a max rate that it can get, but like at least if you go and grind something, you're not getting absolutely nothing almost ever.
Right.
And I appreciate
There's
that.
always a chance to gain.
But yeah, I think like, and I'm not much of a gambler, but there's always that chance like, is this one I'm going to get that cool weapon?
This is your type of gambling.
Right.
Video game drops.
Video game gun drops.
That is the kind you like. Anyway, back to, like, they've made this game so much. There's obviously like this niche community that wants it and is so here for it. So I wouldn't suggest that they change anything really that much, but I could see this being a slightly different game and me really loving it. But I'm kind of glad that they don't sell out and make it more mainstream and they just kind of keep it this goofy little thing that you just have this huge soft spot for.
Yeah.
I think if you're under the age of 30, I would assume that you're not going to get this game. I really do feel like this is kind of an older person game because I'm guessing that this just reminds you of like all those action movies you watched as a little boy. Like, and that's why you just kind of have a soft spot for it, right? Yeah,
that might be true. And like I started playing it when I was younger, the first one even. So it almost has that kind of nostalgic feel to me in more ways than one. But I do also appreciate that every iteration that I played seems to not necessarily completely change up the formula, but make some quality of life changes every time. Like,
you think so?
Yes, because like this game is much better than Earth Defense Force 2017, and like you have multiple different classes that you can play at to really mix it up. Like you didn't have that before? No, that didn't start that way. I think that was Earth Defense Force 2025, which is essentially the 4th one. It's hard. It's fine. It's name translations. I think now they're just sticking to the numbers because, like, why change it? But Earth Defense Force 6 is out in Japan, and I mentioned that in the first half. And people say like, yeah, they made a little more. Like they keep making these tweaks in these, like, I guess pain points you would call them, to make it a little more fun, a little more smooth, and to keep that feel of like, ooh, I got something really interesting or something really cool
without compromising the basic.
The basic
thing
platform
that they do.
Shoot lots of bugs, shoot lots of aliens.
Keep it corny. Keep those random soldiers and civilians talking at all times. I played with the sound off most of the time.
Yeah, you did. But there are emotes you can do, like basic yes, no. But there, one of the spots is like there's a E.D.F Force like song that you can start singing, and if you start singing the first line, all the NPCs that are with you will keep singing it.
Okay, that's kind of cute.
And it's like, yeah, let's pump ourselves up for battle, you know? Like, and I just like little touches like that. I enjoy. So silly.
Oh my goodness.
It is overall it is a silly game.
Yes.
You kind of leave your brain at the door and have fun. I do agree that to get to the really good stuff, you got to grind a little bit, but
don't worry, it's easy.
Yeah, you just like burn.
At least it is easy.
I would say if you are interested in trying this, like just fun, kill a bunch of ants, kill a bunch of enemies game, like just burn through them like first 20 levels. I'm pretty sure at that point is when you start getting more interesting drops on normal at very, you know, and it's just fun to experiment. Like, and now I would do that. I would go to a level that I know it's just like one of the first levels. Okay, what can I do here? Try out some new weapons and see what they do, because you never know. You know,
you gotta try it.
Yeah,
there is a huge variety, at least.
Not to mention all the text for every single weapon they've written out, and they tell you a hint of what might be doing it or what's special. Like there's a lot, and it can feel overwhelming, and I do understand that.
But I mean, anybody that plays any type of shooter game is going to understand it. I don't think it's...
If you play a loot shooter, a dropper, like anything, like you're going to run through a lot of that stuff normally, you know, so... Oh, any last thoughts? And what is your rating do you feel about this game?
I give it a 4 out of 10.
That's fine.
I'm never playing this again. But I don't hate it. I want to make that really clear. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't hate it. I just don't have any interest in it. It's not for me.
Yep.
It's a little bit too simple, corny at first for me to really sink my teeth into it. So it didn't feel very fun or enticing. Mm-hmm. I kind of like video games to be complicated enough where I gotta think most of the time. I mean, even Heroes of Might and Magic, to get to that point of world domination, you gotta be careful and think things through and plan and strategize. And then when you get that coasting point at the end where you're like, get back. Like, that's the satisfying, I'm done, start a new game.
I put my time in.
I like working to get there. So that's kind of more for me. But like I said, it's not the worst game in the world. I think it's kind of cute. I think it's kind of sweet, like that some people just absolutely love it. And I can kind of understand why. It wasn't made bad. Everything worked really well. It's just not for me. It's not for me.
And that's okay. Like I said, this game definitely has a cult following. It is a niche game.
Yeah, for sure.
To say the least, right?
Definitely. 100%. So it's kind of cool to see it, play it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Never going to do that again.
That's okay. Until E.D.F 6 comes stateside.
And I'm so glad to get this over with. And I'm so glad to move on to something else.
Yep, we're moving on to something else.
That's kind of the best part about not liking a game is then I'm excited to move on after 2 weeks.
And this podcast would be boring if you loved every single game a lot. So honestly, the fact that you even gave it a 4, even though you're like, nope, I'm done, I'm willing to accept that.
I'm giving it a 4 because watching you play your game for a little bit and all the stuff that you see and do, like, okay, there's more to it.
Yeah. There's some digging.
I can understand why people like it at that point. It's just not for me, and I don't... It's not the best made game ever. I'm just being honest. But that's kind of the charm of it, and I understand that. I don't think it deserves less than a 4, but it gets a 4. I hate Tomb Raider and Far Cry 3 much worse than I hate this game. So it did pretty good in my book.
This is only mid-level hate.
Yeah.
Dislike, not
It's
even
a
hate.
strong dislike.
Yeah. Oh.
Do you know what you call an army ant?
What do you call it?
You got this. Think about
my
this
gosh.
game.
Nope, just tell me. What do you call an army ant?
No, you don't have it?
I don't have
This one's easy. I felt like it was lame.
it. Probably is, but that's what makes it good. Tell me.
Militant.
Oh my god.
Militant. It's a militant.
Wordplay. I can see the I can see the word in my head where ants just in bold.
And then I'm like, how do you say that and make it roll off the tongue, but also get the joke across?
Don't you know what? Don't you hate when you look at a joke and you read it, makes perfect sense, but then when you try to tell it
when
to
you
someone,
say it with your mouth words?
yeah, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah.
And you're like stressing the part of the word.
You just like, I gotta stress this real hard.
I was worried that was what was going to happen with this one. But I couldn't find any good Earth Defense Force jokes because for some reason the people that like this game just fucking like it and don't even make fun of it. So,
well,
that's a hardcore fan base there.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
So is there anything you want to talk about that you've been playing or watching? Anything you were curious, want to pass on?
I have I had the dread set in because I knew I had to play Earth Defense Force.
Yep.
So I just didn't play anything.
If I don't play anything, I can't feel bad for not playing E.D.F.
Yeah. For like a week, I just avoided all video games. And then I was like, I got to do it. And I just stuck with that. And it just kills my vibe so much. I don't want to play anything else. No, that's not true. I played Demio one night with our son, and that was very fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Even though by the time we got to the second level, he's like, I'm done. And it's like, we were like halfway through it too, doing pretty well. It's like, oh.
I wish that was probably my only qualm with Demio is takes.
No, don't say bad things.
I like Demio a lot.
Love that
it's
game.
like it's D&D card game. Like it's really cool. I'm not saying it's a bad game. The only hard part is it's like sitting down to watch a movie at the end of the night. If I'm going to play Demio, it's like I got to put enough time aside for this, and it's hard for me to feel like I have enough time
Minimum
to do that.
3 hours, but it's worth it. Good games are worth it.
Yeah, and definitely, and it's more fun when you do get to play with people for sure, because then you get some quirky things.
You know what's funny is like you say that 2 to 3 hours for like completing a run.
Yeah.
But you'll sit there and grind away at something for months.
Yeah. It's just that
it's funny how
mindset.
it feels different to you.
I think for me,
it's because you're so close. You want to complete it.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to stop.
I think it's that
you could.
that dopamine drip that the other games get. I don't get as much from Demio, and I think that's because what you do unlock in Demio doesn't translate as much to like in-game experience as much. It's mostly cosmetic stuff, which is cool. But when I'm grinding in another game, it's like, okay, I'm building up to this new sword or this new ability, or I'm trying to build this cool thing. So like, I feel like if I'm grinding towards functionality, it's a little more of a driving force. Cosmetics has very rarely been a driving force for me. Once in a while it gets
Cosmetics isn't a driving force for me either, but the driving force for me in this game is at the end of the first and second round, you, depending on how much gold you picked up, you can buy certain cards and get stronger and stronger. I mean, if you get lucky and like speed cards or magic cards are available to you, you can beef up your character so much.
So nice when that's
happens. My dopamine drip on that game. I'm like, round 2, here we go. I'm gonna get you.
Let's roll.
I love it. I got like 4 companion cards. I'm all beefy. My mage actually does something now. Best watch out.
Yep.
I gave him like 6 magic potions.
Yeah. My zap spell's overpowered.
Yeah. Does more than 1 damage now. You best watch out.
Still, good game. I mean, nothing but praises
so that was
for
the
it.
only other thing I did. What about you? I really haven't seen you doing.
I have been messing with this old computer mostly.
Oh, yes.
And so I've been playing some real old PC. I dipped toe into Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to go back to, like, Warcraft 3 is a great RTS, the original. I know the remake got they did some rough stuff to it. But it is kind of fun to go back to that era of it and, like, experience that. And that was really enjoyable. And some old Neverwinter Nights, which is also a old DVD. Sorry, not DVD. D&D, Dungeons and Dragons game. And it's kind of just cool to, like, to re-experience those a little bit. Like, I didn't dig too deep in it. I was just making sure everything worked and how, you know. But sometimes I just get that bug and I just enjoy kind of messing around with stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
So I think that's the end of the episode. I want to say thank you to Brother Ware for our caricatures.
We love them. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you to our listeners. We appreciate you so much. We love to hear you comment, subscribe, follow. If you listen on Spotify, you can, there's a little place you can leave a comment, what you think about the episode, or any suggestions for games you would like me to make Rose play. I will happily take suggestions. We also have a YouTube channel to post on, and Apple Podcasts you can leave comments on too. I try to make sure I check all them. Sometimes I forget, but I do check them about once between episodes at the very least. So, but yeah, feel free, and I will happily take those into consideration. So I'm Matt.
My name's Rose.
And this has been Co-ople Mode. You keep gaming with your bestie. Look out for the ants!